We talked a little bit before about metabolic adaptation. Okay, well, there's more to the doom and gloom discussion. And that is the fact that for those of us who have lived with obesity for an extended amount of time, you get changes in your blood-brain barrier. Okay, so I always describe this as an experience I had when I was living, with a BMI of 44, which is where I started. And that is, you go to a baby shower, right? Or it could be a bridal shower, something. But there's going to be the skinny girl in the room, and she's going to take a couple bites of cake, shower cake or whatever, and then almost immediately or very, very quickly, she's going to be like, "Oh, that's too rich. I can't." Yeah, my experience during all of those years is like, girl, I don't know what you're talking about. This is fantastic. Nothing ever tells me to stop. And that's accurate, actually, on a physiologic level. Okay. So what is happening in her? Okay. She is actually having that really sugary cake, and her blood sugar is going up. And then her insulin goes up in response. And then she is going to experience the central inhibition of insulin, which says, oh gosh, there's lots of food surplus floating around, go ahead and stop the feed. Okay, so if you have been living with obesity of a route, you don't get that signal. And so this is just one of the many things where it is just life is not there. And the number of things that we have to deal with in order to successfully accomplish and maintain weight loss is shocking. So yeah, you don't get that signal. Nothing tells you to stop. Furthermore, if you have lived with weight for a long time, what should be going on inside the body is that all fat cells produce something called leptin. Leptin should go to your brain and turn on GLP, right? Which is the class of medications that Ozempic and Mounjaro are, and you should kind of get a signal like, oh gosh, we have adequate energy reserves, therefore you are not hungry, right? Okay. So great truth in the body is that things that we are generally exposed to over the long term, we become resistant to. So guess who doesn't get that signal either, that I'm hungry less? Okay, what else? Well, let's see. If I have, through no fault of my own and highly reliant on a genetic predisposition with racial components to this, if I happen to be someone who has stored enough central fat, i.e. fat around my liver, some high triglycerides, well, guess what? The liver is going to be instigated probably to make some extra sugar on the side, which in the background is going to instigate a little bit of an insulin response. And insulin does not just work to lower blood sugar. In fact, it is one of the chief long-term hormonal regulators of weight gain, right? So, and it makes sense, right? Sugar goes high, so insulin goes high. So insulin says, grow, get bigger, put on fat, weigh more. Well, what happens when you've got some background process going on all the time? Well, if insulin's around all the time, just like with the leptin, you become resistant to this, and then you need more. And then you've got a double problem, right? Because not only is it high all the time and not working as well, it's also sending your body a hormonal signal to gain weight. And I will tell you that patients who come in who might even not have a super elevated BMI, but they are saying, hey, I have not changed what I am eating and I am gaining weight like crazy. It can be true. And I'm telling you 100% that there are patients who come in and they're very good trackers and they're like, I have 800 to 1,000 calories a day and I'm working out. Yeah, just check your insulin level. Before I had practiced obesity med, I had never seen an insulin level over around 4. And now the highest I've seen is around 900. I think it's a little over 900. And I will tell you for a fact that the patients who have significantly elevated insulin will have an incredibly difficult time losing weight, especially if that number is over around 100. That must be treated first, or nothing else is going to work that great, not even a GLP. And so, that's really important to know. And so all of this together, you take all this and you're like, oh my gosh, metabolic adaptation, insulin resistance, leptin resistance, not getting that central inhibitory signal from insulin. For all of these reasons, willpower is not enough. And also, it's not your fault. You have a permanent metabolic illness and we can fix it and help you. So all that to say, it's not about weakness, it's about wiring, it's about physiology, and it's just about accepting that, and we can win this.